these are the different filter options for the under-counter reverse osmosis and nanofiltration systems. The basic set that comes in most of the systems would be a sediment filter, which is just to remove dirt. Nice thing with these sediment filters, they're used on most of our under-counter and whole house products, is you can visibly see how they get dirty from the outside going in. So it's a nice product to get an idea, because you can open it up after a few weeks and just get an idea of how long it'll actually take until it needs to be replaced. That's basically just for dirt in the water. Then the next two filters are carbon filters, which their primary purpose is to remove chlorine. They also remove a bit of smells and tastes. The big problem with these filters is if you have some bacteria in the water, bacteria gets into these filters, you get an explosion of bacteria growth. But what they basically do is they trap hydrocarbons, which is bits of food, and they remove chlorine, which is what keeps the bacteria from growing in most of the water supplies. So what you have in the filter is you create a wonderful environment for bacteria to grow within the cartridge itself. For that reason, we normally recommend, and this is according to the World Health Organization standards, a maximum of 6 months usage on one of these cartridges. But what's a very good idea is if you're using these, to open them up, have a look in the last filter, feel if you feel sort of a sliminess on the seal surface here, that means you're getting bacteria growth on the filter. Now, there's one of two options then. You can either say, all right, 6 months was too long, let's try and shorten the exchange time and change them after 3 months, and see if after 3 months you're getting any bacteria growth on the filter. If there's none, you can extend it a little bit, and then you can sort of figure out for your water supply how often do you actually need to change these filters. As an alternative, what you can do is you can swap these two carbon filters for KDF. Now, this is a great option. I use it at my house actually, which then basically just changes your number 2 and 3 cartridge. And what KDF basically does, it's a very reactive component which we add into the filter, but it stays in the filter. And that physically bonds with bacteria's cell membranes, thus killing the bacteria. It also absorbs things such as heavy metals, which is a great thing because none of the under-counter systems really have a 100% removal rate for heavy metals. So the KDF dramatically improves that. But the main thing, because the carbon and the KDF is mixed inside of this filter, you now have about 4 times the lifespan, because all the KDF's reaction capacity needs to be depleted before you start to get that bacteria growth. So if you were using a normal carbon filter and you found that you have only about a 3-month lifespan, if you then swap these carbons for KDFs, you'll probably have about a year lifespan on the KDF filters, which will dramatically reduce how often you need to work on the system. And they also remove a few extra things such as heavy metals, and in my personal opinion it improves the taste of the final product water as well. If you put KDFs in place and you find you still have bacteria growing on the filters, or if you're using a source such as borehole or river water without a lot of pre-filtration, what you can do is you can remove the second KDF and replace that with an ultrafiltration membrane. The ultrafiltration membrane is a physical barrier that filters to 0.02 micron, which is then a small enough physical pores that bacteria can't get through it. So even if you have bacteria growing in the cartridges before it, at least for quite a while, the ultrafiltration membrane will then stop that bacteria from continuing on and damaging the membrane or getting into your drinking water. By the way, this set is the set we use in our triple under counters and in our triple direct line. So if you're adding this onto an RO system, you're in effect creating a double barrier system where you have 2 barriers to block bacteria. The ultrafiltration membrane looks quite similar to a carbon filter. It's quite a lot lighter, and the way you can tell the difference is if you look inside the filter itself, there's an actual filtration membrane. It basically is thousands of little pipes with pores on the side. So make very sure not to confuse this with the normal carbon filter, because they perform completely different functions. When to replace this one? you'll have one of two things happen. Either you'll get bifouling on the membrane from too much bacteria, which is rare with the KDF, but very likely if you use a carbon filter before something like ultrafiltration membrane and it's on a source with bacteria, then you'll actually start to get bacteria through like you would on this top seal, like you would on the KDF or the carbon filter. But most likely what would happen is the physical pores on this membrane will start to clog up, and then you start to see a loss of flow and less water coming out of the system. These are basically the options for your normal under-counter systems. All of these can be used in the countertop systems as well, but typically, as described here, it would be for reverse osmosis or nanofiltration under-counter system.